the Defence Minister present there, the National Security Advisor present there. Prime Minister Modi yesterday ensured he was there at the Palam airport to offer his last respects. It speaks volumes to the family members, to their loved ones, to their friends about how grateful a nation is for their service. And these heartbreaking images really of family members trying hard to keep their emotions in check, breaking down after that moment of silence. That's when perhaps it hits the hardest, the loss of a loved one, this kind of a loss. And as we get to you those pictures, it's heartbreaking to say the least, to see these emotional moments that a family has to endure. Unfortunately, tragically so, it's not just one family that is in mourning today. It's so many families because of all the heroes that we've lost in the chopper crash on Wednesday. It's an entire nation that's grieving with these family members and trying to keep them strong in this hour of grief. You can see someone consoling her as she breaks down, as she keeps her emotions in check. And that's what it takes to be a Fauji family, to be an army family, to show this kind of strength and resolve. A 16-year-old Brigadier Lidder's daughter is all of 16, and the kind of resilience, the kind of restraint she's shown in the face of this tragedy really speaks volumes of what this family is made of. That picture was so telling. She had such an unspeakable grief written all over her face for the first time, seeing the mortal remains of her father right in front of her, seeing his name written there on that casket. You can only imagine how painful a time it would have been. And there she is, being strong, consoling her mother, trying to keep her emotions in check, to stand by her mother at such a difficult time. And at the end there, she bows down, kisses the casket of Brigadier Lidder as she says goodbye to her father. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has just paid his last respects as well. He was there last night at the Palam airport, and as I mentioned, you know, it's hugely symbolic. It gives a lot of strength to the family, to friends, helps them overcome this grief. When they see these images of the Prime Minister being there, of the Defence Minister being there, and sends across a message to them that the nation understands their grief, that the nation is with them. You see Brigadier Lidder's wife as well as daughter Aashna present there. They will, at the end, with all the senior military officers having laid the wreath, having offered their tribute, with the Defence Minister, the NSA, the Haryana Chief Minister, all of them having paid their tribute. It's now the moment that family members, those who are closest to Brigadier Lidder, those who will feel his loss the most, make their way up there to the casket, offer their floral tribute and say one final goodbye to their loved one. The ceremony is beginning there. This is a cremation ceremony that's kicked off. You can see that the casket is wrapped in the tricolour. We just saw the military honours, a salute from all of Brigadier Lidder's comrades as well. And you see Aashna as well as his wife sitting by, understanding all of the ceremonies that will happen now. And they will be the ones who will say the final goodbye to Brigadier Lidder. This ceremony will go on. And you see those touching images of how his wife there is kissing his casket, his daughter Aashna putting on such a brave face as she puts flowers there on the casket. You can see, and you know, this is just heartbreaking to say the least, of the family there, all of them gathered together, trying to keep each other, trying to be there for each other, trying to be strong in the face of this kind of tragedy. You simply cannot imagine what kind of grief this takes, what kind of strength it takes to overcome this kind of a moment and to show such resilience and restraint in the face of this kind of a tragedy as the entire nation is watching them. And for a 16-year-old, all at 16, to face the loss of her father. Aashna there is standing by with her mother, trying to be strong for her mother, holding on to her mother as she breaks down right before the mortal remains of her father, of Brigadier Lidder there. So the ceremony has begun. The pujari, you see there, also giving out flowers, going ahead with the ceremony as several friends, families surround them. You see that there are senior military officials, all of them present as well there at the Brar Square Crematorium. Aishwarya Paliwal is also with us, reporting from the Brar Square Crematorium. Aishwarya, truly heartbreaking to see this moment of the family having to deal with this loss, grieving together and trying to stay strong. And you know, this is something that you see in Fauji families, how they hold it together in this moment of grief, how they ensure they stand true to the values, to the bravery, to the strength that was shown by their loved one, by Brigadier Lidder. That's reflected so much in his daughter Aashna also.
It runs in the blood, it runs in the family, and that's the kind of grit and determination that we do see in Fauji kids. It stems from the fact that there is a lot of the family knows that there is anything which can happen, but what really is shocking is the fact that for these families this was just as for the nation, as shocking and as unpredictable as it could get. We are seeing more dignitaries going inside. From what we are understanding, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, once the entire ceremony is over, he will come out and he will leave. However, he will be present for the cremation of General Bipin Rawat and his wife. The ceremony is going on inside. We will see VIP movement in just a couple of minutes from now. Rajyavardhan Rathore, Haryana Chief Minister ML Khattar, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, NSA Ajit Doval, all of them inside paying their last tributes. And the kind of tributes which we have seen not just from within the country but from outside the country too speaks volumes of the kind of soldiers these people really were. And as far as Brigadier Lidder is concerned, if you talk about Brigadier Lidder, he was a very important man in the scheme of things. He was considered the right hand of General Bipin Rawat, the right hand of the CDS. So definitely, if you talk about the military establishment and the security establishment of the country, the race now, Akshita, is on to find the next CDS. The procedures are on. Even as we speak about the cremation which will take place today, simultaneously the government is on its way to make sure that we do have a CDS as soon as possible. Those procedures will be put in place very soon and we will see a new CDS very soon. That's what we are understanding at the moment. But today is a very somber day. For the past 2 days, the entire nation has been grieving and was in shock as much as the families that we are seeing inside the cremation ground. For them, this was completely unexpected. Everyone, Akshita, if you remember, even in the newsroom, we were all just hoping and praying and just wishing that the news which was trickling in, it should not be true. Everyone till the last moment was hoping the people will come out of the wreckage and somehow the hospitals, the authorities, the doctors will be able to save them. Unfortunately, that was not true. And we are seeing the cremation of Brigadier Lidder taking place inside and at the same crematorium at about 3:30 p.m. today. Akshita, the cremation of General Bipin Rawat and his wife will take place. Akshita.
That's right. So unfortunate really that today we're going to be seeing more such heartbreaking images through the day. What a week it's been really for us here in India. A week that we've seen so much tragedy, so much heartbreak unfold. And these images that you see on your screens from just a few moments ago will really stay with us for so long, will haunt us forever to see the loss of a husband, the loss of a father for these two, for Aashna, for young Aashna, 16-year-old, having to deal with this kind of a tragedy in her life and trying to be so strong in the face of it. You could see his wife also there moments from now. She bends down, she kisses the casket, and she holds onto it so lovingly. And that tells you, it sums up for you the grief that they'll be going through and the loss that they're going to feel for so many years, all their life. They're going to remember this day and this week really as the week that changed their lives forever. And we as a nation offer our tributes, we offer our hearts to them, we offer everything we can to them to help them overcome this very, very difficult time. And these images, as I mentioned, will stay with us for a very long time. To see this mother and this daughter grieving the loss of Brigadier Lidder. He was a man, and I've been talking about so many of his accomplishments, of how he served the nation for so many years. At the age of 16, he joined the National Defence Academy. That was his vision. He clearly knew that he wanted to serve the nation and did so with such pride as well. One of the most decorated officers of the Indian Army. He was awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal, the Sena Medal. His friends in the army, his comrades, all called him with the nickname of Tony, as Rajyavardhan Rathore also told us there when he paid tribute on social media. He said that we fought together, we studied together, and paid his very, very touching tribute also to Tony, to Brigadier Lakhwinder Singh Lidder. He was a second-generation army officer from Haryana's Panchkula, which is why you had Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar also paying his respects there to the brigadier. He'd been on the staff of General Rawat for more than a year now, serving as his defence assistant. He was cleared for big promotion to the post of Major General, was in fact soon, in about a month from now, we understand, was to leave General Rawat's staff, was to take charge as a division officer. And if you speak of the many, many highs during Brigadier Lidder's service, he was commissioned into the Jammu and Kashmir Rifles. He commanded the 2nd Battalion of the regiment. He served abroad as the defence attaché to Kazakhstan, was considered to be a counter-terror specialist as well. Rajyavardhan Rathore has made a mention of that as well. In his tweet that he put out earlier, he was there for the ceremony as well. He says that India has lost one of its brightest and bravest officers. I've lost a friend. He was a decorated soldier, a caring husband, a doting father. And he said, you will be missed, Tony. This is a sentiment that many of even Rathore's comrades will share. You see so many people who gathered there, their friends, their family, their admirers of Brigadier Lidder, and the legacy that he leaves behind is something that we'll simply not forget. The Defence Minister, Aishwarya, spent quite a bit of time there grieving with the family, expressing a message also of condolence. And something like that speaks volumes of how we as a nation also stand by this family to help them to tide over this crisis, this tragedy. The fact that Prime Minister Modi was there last night at the Parliament Airport, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was there yesterday, he's there today, the NSA was there yesterday, he's there today. All of that sends across such a resounding message as a nation that we stand by this family at the hour of grief. And I'm sure it gives them so much strength. For a Fauji family, it gives them so much strength that, their loved one has been recognized as someone who served the nation so bravely.
Thing which we all know about this government is the way in which they back the soldiers. We have been seeing it over the past few years, and over the past 2 days, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, in fact, Akshita was running from pillar to post. We did see he was in the South Block, making sure, getting all the information. In fact, that there was a very crucial government meeting also. He informed the Prime Minister, he told the Prime Minister everything that was happening, and then we saw him rushing to the house of General Bipin Rawat, where he met both his daughters and he gave them the heartbreaking news. It was none other than the Defence Minister of the country who told the daughters of General Bipin Rawat of exactly what had happened, and we saw him accompanying the Prime Minister also at the Parliament Airport. So definitely the family is getting the support of the top government officials, of Prime Minister himself. The presence of NSA as well as Defence Minister speaks about the kind of men they were, both General Bipin Rawat as well as Brigadier LS Lidder. We are seeing how Rajnath Singh, from what we are also understanding, Akshita, has been in constant touch with both the daughters for the past 2 days, and the way in which he is consoling them inside, consoling, the daughter and the wife of Brigadier Lidder, definitely talks about the fact that the government is standing very firmly behind the soldiers, and in these tragic times, the families are not left alone. The government is standing firmly behind them and giving them the strength that they need at the moment. We are seeing, the ceremony playing out inside, and all of them now paying their last tributes to Brigadier Lidder. Akshita.
That's right, and as we beam for you all the live images that are coming in from the cremation ceremony that's underway there, you can also see that it was with full military honors, a final salute that was given to Brigadier Lidder there just a few moments ago after Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was present. And one of the tributes, one of the most common tributes that have come in for Brigadier Lidder was that he was one of India's bravest, one of India's brightest officers. And there's been so many details that I've mentioned with regards to his service in the forces, and I'm sure a lot more that we aren't even aware of. So many stories of bravery of all the personnel who died in that horrific crash that I'm sure we're not even aware of. And that's how they work behind the scenes to safeguard the country, to serve the country. Very often their stories go completely untold. This moment here from the Brar Square Crematorium will leave you a number of the tributes that are pouring in. I'm sure you've read so many stories on social media from so many people, from army veterans, from people who served with Brigadier Lidder as well, about his bravery and how he really shone in so many challenging operations, in so many challenging situations as well. As we continue getting you all the updates of the ceremony that's underway there, unfortunately at 3 we're going to again see a repeat of these heartbreaking scenes. General Rawat, his wife Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, will also be cremated here at the Brar Square Crematorium with full military honours. And that's really the heartbreaking bit, Aishwarya, that we've lost so many heroes, so many personnel in this chopper crash, that this kind of a loss to a family isn't restricted to one family. So many families are grieving today because of the chopper crash on Wednesday.
Imaginable, for both the daughters of General Bipin Rawat, losing both the parents is something which most of us cannot even fathom what it must have felt like, which is why we did see the Defence Minister himself not wasting any time. As soon as he got the confirmation of what had happened exactly, he rushed to the house and broke the unfortunate news to both the daughters. We will see the family. We in fact saw the family members at the Palam airport yesterday, and today too we are seeing the family members inside. General Bipin Rawat's family will also come to the same crematorium at about 3 p.m. today. One other anecdote, Akshita, that I have heard from a lot of people who passed out during from the NDA, they said that the moment General Bipin Rawat had put inside, people had started saying that he is a very bright person, and that is what across we are seeing, not just in the defense circles, even in the government. One thing which for both the people had to say, even for General Bipin Rawat as well as for Brigadier Lidder, was the fact that they were extremely sharp, extremely bright, and the kind of tributes we have seen, Akshita, pouring in from across the globe talks about the kind of men they were, what they have done for the country. Now there are many things which come out, Akshita. There are many things which these are the men like them, they do behind the curtain. Some things, some stories we'll never get to know, but the kind of tributes we are seeing pouring in. Rajyavardhan Rathore, amongst the first to arrive at the cremation ground, talks about the kind of men they were and what they were doing for the country. Unfortunately, we are bringing you these visuals. Some of the people are now stepping out from the cremation ground. We expect Rajnath Singh also to step out in just a couple of minutes. NSA Ajit Doval too will come out in the next couple of minutes. But we will see all these people back here at the same cremation ground around 3 p.m. Because from what we are understanding, Akshita, about 2 p.m. is when the mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat and his wife will start moving from his house, and they will make their way to the same cremation ground. We expect other dignitaries also to be present. The cremation of General Bipin Rawat and his wife will take place around 3 or 3:30 p.m. at the same cremation ground. Akshita.
Okay, and we will be getting you live reports also from General Rawat's residence, where we will be seeing tributes pouring in. Public will be allowed to come and pay their respects as well. In fact, the mortal remains of the Chief of Defence Staff will be laid in state, so that civilians, civil dignitaries, military personnel, all of them can pay homage to, in fact, to General Rawat, to the Chief of Defence Staff, to the top military officer. And then At 3 o'clock, as Aishwarya pointed out, the mortal remains of General Rawat and his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, will be taken, and this will be the last journey of the General to the Brar Square Crematorium, where with full military honours, the cremation ceremony will take place. Right now, the ceremony is underway at the Brar Square Crematorium for another hero who we lost in the chopper crash. Brigadier Lidder, who was part of the Chief of Defence Staff and his team. He was, in fact, working as the Defence Assistant, was due for a promotion, which was cleared to the rank of Major General, would have been shifted, in fact, in about a month or so. And that's when this kind of a tragedy has struck. And we're beaming for you those images that will really haunt us as a nation of a wife, of a daughter bidding farewell to Brigadier Lidder, and the emotion that they're showing, the restraint that they're showing, really speaks volumes of what Brigadier Lidder also stood for and how these families believe to their core in serving the nation. And it is that perhaps strength that takes them and tides through this kind of tragedy. A 16-year-old, Aashna, is having to deal with the loss of her father. And look at what a brave face she's putting up in the face of that kind of a tragedy. Even yesterday at the Palam airport, when the mortal remains of Brigadier Lidder and so many others were brought down, you saw families trying so hard to keep the emotion in check. Aashna, the 16-year-old, was seen holding on to her mother, putting her hand around her mother, trying to be strong for her mother. And then moments later, she says also a personal, a private goodbye to her father as she kneels down and kisses his coffin. And that tells you really of the kind of values that these families have and how they believe in their core about service to the nation. This is something that I keep speaking about, because the strength that this 16-year-old girl has, that a mother is displaying in such a time of tragedy, is just incredible, to say the least. And Aishwarya, there are so many such stories, you know, of bravery from these heroes, of the bravery that's being displayed by their families as well at the Palam airport last night. We'll go across to Aishwarya in just a bit. On your screens also, we're beaming for you the live images that are coming in from General Rawat's residence. As I mentioned, you will in fact be seeing the public coming and paying their respects to General Rawat as well. His mortal remains will be laid in state along with that of his wife's, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, at their residence. The doors of their residence will be opened for people to pay their last respects as well. You're going to be seeing a number of dignitaries like Rahul Gandhi, Home Minister Amit Shah is expected to be there. The UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath is also expected to be there, and they will be paying their last respects, their last salute to General Bipin Rawat, after which the final journey of General Rawat will commence to the Brar Square Crematorium, and there Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be there again. Now, as we beam to you these images from General Rawat's residence, I also want to tell you what's happening there at the Brar Square Crematorium, where in fact the cremation ceremony for Brigadier Lidder is happening with full military honours. And we are getting you those live images as well of the tricolour that's being handed over to, in fact, Brigadier Lidder's family. The tricolour is being handed over to the family there at the Brar Square Crematorium. The tricolour being given there to the wife of Brigadier Lidder. It's so emotional to see, with Defence Minister Rajnath Singh by her side. She's controlling her emotions. She's holding on to his portrait. We're seen kissing it, hugging it, and her family members, all of them around her, doing the same. You see the emotion, the unspeakable grief that's written on her face as she hugs on to that portrait, as she's trying hard to keep her emotions in check as she says goodbye to her husband. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh standing like a rock right next to her. This moment, Aishwarya, is always so touching when the tricolour is removed, handed over by our forces, along with the portrait of Brigadier Lidder to the wife. It's such an emotional moment. It's such a moment of, emotional strength that's shown by the family, like their Brigadier Lidder's wife, keeping her emotions in check. She's holding on to the portrait, hugging it, kissing it as she holds on to the tricolour there with full pride.